Yeah, I'm gonna use the metaphor of basically like a car wreck.
Mm,
My brain went through a car wreck,
mm,
and the PTSD through that car wreck and it was just so sudden.
mm,
It's like it changed overnight,
mm.
and my it was too much for me to process at one time, which is why, like I said, I felt like I was a walking time bomb.
Hey, Carlos.
Hello,
Welcome to Navigating Life podcast.
thank you for having me.
Yes, would you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Yes, my name's Carlos Soto. I was born and raised in the Fort Bend, Missouri City area. Married to my beautiful wife Jamie, and got two amazing kids. Started off as a personal trainer, eventually became a master trainer, and now I'm a high school teacher and a coach as well.
Okay, great. High school, like,
Yes.
what do you coach?
Well, now I'm strictly just strength and conditioning. So I was a football coach,
Hmm.
and I also coach soccer and wrestling. But with the kids, having the kids, I wanted to be at home more. And being a high school football coach or any high school coach, it
Yeah.
takes a lot of hours.
Yes.
So I wanted to cut back on that and spend more time with the kids at home. So
Yes.
now I get the best of both worlds, being a strength and conditioning coach for all the athletes,
Mm,
boys and girls at the school,
okay.
and still get to go home and have my family time as
Yeah,
well.
that's great. I'm
Yeah,
happy for you.
thank you.
So I know you've been through very, I would say, traumatic experience as a child.
Yes.
Would you, take us on that journey and explain, what you've been through and that story with us, please?
Yes. So, what I went through as a child, I didn't really know it affected me until I had my own children.
Mm,
I'll start off from the beginning, though. My parents were hardworking parents, so they had to work a lot while we were growing up as kids. So, me and my brother, we had a babysitter, and that babysitter used to physically and sexually abuse me. Um, when I was around 5 or 6, and I didn't think, or no, I don't know. I was 5 or 6, so I didn't really say anything
yeah.
until my grandma, my mama, uh, got it out of me,
Mm,
and you know, we obviously, once my parents found out that she got out of there,
mm,
but yeah, she used to, and she spoke only Spanish, and we don't speak Spanish, so I don't know why she would kick me in the stomach, push me down, hit me in the head. I don't know why. And when it was late at night, if my parents had to stay at work late, she would, get my brother to sleep real quick, and then she would come in and put me to sleep. But that's when the sexual abuse happened. All I remember as far as that goes is, her undressing in front of me as a 5 or 6 year old, and her breast right in front of my face, and then it's all a blackout from there. Like,
mm,
my mind will not let me remember that. Not that I want to. So
yeah.
uh, after that, after telling my parents and getting her out, I didn't really think that it affected me.
Mm,
In my eyes, I thought I was protecting my brother. I said I can take it if as long as she don't do nothing to my brother.
mm,
Uh, so I guess looking back, I always had like a protective personality. Uh, I loved uh, working out, which I guess like obsessed with it. So I don't know if that was just my unconscious outlet
mm,
of doing that. And I always had more of a paranoid, stressed out personality.
mm,
Not stressing over small things, just paranoid about worst case scenario, what could go wrong, and how can I prevent it. But I still felt with that. That was just part of my personality. But I felt like I had a normal childhood,
mm,
normal middle school and high school years.
mm,
I loved college, but you know, uh, after college, and I got married to my wife and had my first son, and I had a close female friend that I grew up with as well. Uh, she had gotten checked into a suicide prevention center, and that came out of nowhere, and we didn't know why. We supported her, and eventually the answer came out that she was sexually abused and molested growing up as well. And for some reason, hearing that, that's when it really brought back all, I guess, the feelings I had deep down inside. Uh, it brought them out like an overdrive, and I I don't know. I just, and mind you, this all happened around at the beginning of COVID as well. So I just like snap and turn into this walking time bomb. Just not necessarily paranoid about my safety, but now I'm always thinking about my wife and my son's safety at that time. And, I only trust uh, my parents and her parents with watching my kids, and there's just so many invasive thoughts that I just cannot turn off. And it affected the way I was. Now I felt like I wasn't myself. I was just an uptight, angry version of myself. And being at home because we were trying to follow the rules and keep our circle during the COVID time. So being at home with nothing to do but have your thoughts with you. It's a ugly thing. It can turn into an ugly thing, and there's a couple holes in the wall and a dent in our refrigerator just because I would explode it sometimes, and I was afraid that I was going to explode on somebody if somebody had just, even if they were joking and I had just snapped. So eventually, you know, uh, my wife convinced me to talk to somebody, and uh, that's when I reached out and got therapy, and I started doing that every once every 2 weeks, and it really helped me just talk everything out and process all of my feelings of what I was going through for myself and how I feel about the safety of the ones that I love the most, and eventually I was doing. I was always working out, but I added meditating. I added yoga, and the prayer part was a little hard as well, just because I don't know. I've always been a strong. I've never lost my faith in God. Strong. I've always been a strong believer, but at that time, there was a lot of anger towards God as well. It was just an anger of why am I going through this, and why is my family going through this? When they shouldn't be. They don't deserve it. But I worked through that as well, and eventually got on. She recommended that I talk to a psychiatrist and get prescribed medication to help with my anxiety. So I did that and got prescribed for Prozac, and I've been on that, and that helped out a lot. And I didn't even. It wasn't even overnight. It just a gradual. Like, wow, I have more control over my feelings and how I handle things and how I go about things. So it was a long, it was a good about 2 or 3 years of going through that process, and I'm not cured. It's still a struggle, but I do have better control over how I feel and handle things.
So you're able to manage.
Correct.
You recognize that it affected you as an adult.
Correct.
Not as a child, even though the abuse happened when you were a child.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was just my own mind just protecting me and just shutting that away. As a kid, just block that out. Right. And then, I don't know.
So, we were all like unique, just like looking at all the research and everything, like same situation, like two of us could be experiencing the same trauma, but like we would react differently because we're different people. And that self-regulating mechanism is, different, depends on so many factors, right?
Yes.
The way, the environment that you grew up in or I grew up in, and everything it affects us, and mental health and trauma. Like, I want us to like talk about that. You recognize it only when this other person came out of nowhere and was suicidal. Can you talk a little bit?
Yeah, I'm gonna use the metaphor of basically like a car wreck. My brain went through a car wreck, and and the PTSD through that car wreck and it was just so sudden. It's like it changed overnight, and it was too much for me to process at one time, which is why, like I said, I felt like I was a walking time bomb, and couldn't have fun anywhere. I couldn't even enjoy my my wife and kids the way that I should have been enjoying them, just because I had so much crap in my head that just I don't even know. It's hard to put into words. Like I said, it just felt like a car wreck for my brain, and it was a long road to recovery dealing with the PTSD and the invasive thoughts. And these invasive thoughts just, I couldn't turn them off. And, I still can't turn them off. They'll probably always be there, but they're definitely not as strong as they were back then.
Yeah.
And when I say invasive thoughts, like you said, everybody deals with it differently, whether it's depression, suicide, or anxiety. I never felt depressed, but I always had the severe anxiety and stress level through the roof, and anger. So these invasive thoughts were just pictures of just horrible things happening to my son or my wife if I wasn't around to protect them. Unrealistic thoughts, but I could not turn them off, and it was driving me crazy. Like I didn't want them to go anywhere without me, just so I could be there for them. And it wasn't healthy for me, and it obviously wasn't healthy for my family. So I couldn't do it on my own. I needed to get out and get help.
Yeah, because, as a child, adults are supposed to protect us. It's their job, and we trust them, and our trust is betrayed, right? And that's like huge. And then, like, you were saying, you don't know if you can trust others with your wife and kids. And that's, you kind of connect the dots, and it's that trust issue, like that betrayal led to these feelings of, I don't know if I can trust another, babysitter with my kids. And it's very normal, right? Like I've read somewhere that, it's a normal reaction to an abnormal circumstance, right?
Well said. Yeah.
That is what it is. We're not reacting abnormally to that. It's a natural reaction, to a trauma. Like you were traumatized, right? That is not how it's supposed to be.
Nope.
It's a developmental process, right? A child is supposed to grow normally in a safe environment. And that was stolen from you. So, and it's a normal reaction of all these feelings and thoughts, and like that was sort of like a dissociation, right? Like you kind of, and you don't remember, right? Like you don't remember a lot of things of, like what happened really, but it happened, right? And so it feels like a memory loss kind of aspect, right? And so I'm really sorry, like you went through that, but this is not very uncommon. It's very common.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not. You're right.
Yeah, and also this is not outside, not a stranger. It's like people that that it happens, and this channel, like this podcast, this is what we're trying to do is, normalize these conversations, bring these to light, and we don't want people to suffer alone. Like, you're not alone. This is very common, and typically we think it's mostly girls, but
no, it's not.
Right. I know we were talking about this website that you were, talking about. We'll put that in the description, 1 and 6. Would you like to talk about that?
Yeah. So when I first, actually before I talked to my therapist, there was this other family friend who my mom recommended to me. He was he helped out with he was a sexual abuse survivor as well, and so I talked to him more as a counselor before I got into therapy, and he was helping out with this 1 in 6 website, and it's a website that's dedicated more to male survivors of sexual and physical abuse, and I looked on that, and all I saw were stories of men who went through a similar situation as I went through, and it was tough and relieving at the same time. It's always tough to see another, you know, man, anybody, but it's tough to see somebody, express their thoughts and struggle through that, because you see the pain through their story, and that help you empathize with that, but it brings you back to what you went through as well. But it was relieving at the same time, because like you said, I'm not the only one that went through this. We all got our own demons, our own struggles, and seeing them hurts and helps at the same time.
Let's talk about, because I know ethnic minorities, so like how did that, like we have the stigma, right? Could you
Correct.
talk about that a little bit?
Me having a Mexican descent, there's always that machismo, tough guy. Don't talk about your problems outside the family, keep it in the house, and everything. But I was blessed that my parents weren't like that. They were always raising me. Tell me how you feel, why you feel that way, and let's talk it out. And don't ever be ashamed to cry if you feel like crying. Let's talk. And growing up like that just helped me so much in expressing myself. And so I got blessed with having parents that believed in open communication and processing things together. So doing that growing up, I knew what my culture and my race around me was like, but we weren't like that. So I never really had a problem with, I would never felt ashamed. First of all, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my doing. So I never felt guilty or ashamed of it. Uh, and I have nothing to hide. They raised me that way. They say, you went through what you went through. Now, wasn't your fault. So
Yeah. What lessons have you learned from this, traumatic experience as a child and, as an adult? Like, what lessons have you learned?
lessons that I've learned is, just because you went through something a long time ago and you don't think that it affected you, it can. It's just certain events or certain things just can bring it out of you. And once you do that, you gotta listen to the people around you that you're around with in your life. And if they're saying that you need to get help, get the help. It's trying to fake it till you make it. Like people say, that'll drive you crazy. You may be good at it for a while, but eventually the truth is going to come out, and it may come out in an ugly way if you keep trying to suppress it, and it just explodes out. That I had to do that to a certain extent as at work. Just because I gotta go to work, I gotta make my money. And especially as a coach and a teacher around kids, that was a tough thing to do. But knowing that I had my family and my friends to come home to, and just let loose, helped out a lot. So I learned, you know, you don't, just because I'm the man or the husband, the dad, whatever. Yes, I'm gonna support and protect my family at all times. I would die for them, but I don't have to be the rock or tough guy all the time either. If I'm feeling weak or vulnerable, it's okay. Because I don't want my kids to see that as well. If I want my kids to say, "Hey, Daddy's, not doing too well, but he can work through it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want them to see, oh, daddy's perfect, daddy's not, you know, because that's not real.
Yeah, that
That's
is
not
not.
real.
I exactly agree.
So the way that my parents raised me, I want to raise my kids like that. Me and my wife, we have that open communication. Well, if she's struggling with something, or if I'm, we tell each other, and we try to help and support each other through, whatever struggles we have together. We try so hard. We're husband and wife. We have an argument every once in a while, but we try so hard to just have conversations. Because I want, first of all, that's the most peaceful and best way to do it.
Yeah.
Arguing and yelling at each other usually doesn't get anything done. It usually ends up hurting.
Yeah.
Somebody gets hurt.
Right.
But if you can talk it through and just hear what your spouse is saying, and your kids grow up seeing that, and some of your friends, they may be having relationship problems and communication. Basically, communication is the key.
Yeah, I agree.
And not being afraid to be vulnerable or weak or hurt, or showing that you're hurting to the ones that you love and trust is okay.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, because that is the other thing, that I, want to address is like, it's okay. We're not perfect. Being vulnerable, I feel like it's a blessing sometimes. And, sharing that story kind of helps. What are some things that helped you to, manage or your trauma?
Yeah. So like that 1 in 6 website definitely helped. They have great resources there. They have online counselors that you can talk to. They also have good books and videos that recommended on that website as well. There was also these 2 books. One was Stillness is a Key. That was more of a general mindfulness book that I read. It's just different stories of different people, famous for whatever reasons, and how they dealt with, there's former presidents, athletes, just how they dealt with their stressful situations and what they did. And I thought that was a reassuring book that helped me. And then Beyond Betrayal was more specific to the abuse that I went through. And that book you got to be mentally prepared to read, because it's just basically a memoir from different abuse survivors. So it's very graphic, and eventually a part of the book, it asks you to write a letter to your abuser. So that if you're not ready for that, don't just go straight into that book. You got to be mentally ready to read that book. So, but Stillness is Key book, and the 1 in 6, yes, those definitely help.
Thank you for sharing that. We'll put that in the description, the links to the books and the resource. Carlos, your son is 4 years old, and I know we were talking about he's not labeled, can be labeled because he's too young, but he shows symptoms of being on the spectrum. Could you talk a little bit about that and your journey, kind of?
Yeah. So while all this was happening with my struggles, and my son being a COVID baby, he really didn't get the opportunity to socialize as he was supposed to growing up, at that 2-3-year-old area. So, when we felt it was safe again, we enrolled him into school, and it was very overwhelming, overstimulating for him. And we removed him because it was a big class and too much for him. So we put him in a Mother's Day out, just to smaller classes, shorter hours, just more focus on him. And he did well in there too, but it was too much for him still, and we had to remove him from there. And we went to the pediatrician, and he just has a bunch of stimulation issues, and was showing through the surveys that we took, signs of autism and ADHD. Like I said, and we've got him evaluated through psychiatrists and professionals, and got him through play therapy right now and occupational therapy, just to figure it out. But seeing my son struggle like that, there's no way that I couldn't be the father that he needs if I didn't help myself first, because my self-hurting is one thing, but seeing, my wife, my son, or my daughter hurting, or anybody I love, that's a different type of pain.
Yeah.
And the way that I was before I got the help, it would have been, I would have probably done something to somebody for no reason, just because I was getting ready to explode, and I didn't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
So getting the help that I needed back then helped me help my son. So now, me and my wife were constantly researching. We're constantly talking to the professionals with this therapist, on just how to network and navigate through what he needs to help him get through a normal childhood and just a normal life. So we're doing that right now together, always communicating. And like I said, me helping myself helped me help him.
Yes.
So
I love that. I love that. Being better people, right? Yeah. So, like, if we take care of ourselves, then we could be better parents, better spouses, better, friends and humans. So,
and don't look at it as being selfish. You have to take care of yourself. Otherwise, you're not giving whoever needs it your best version of yourself.
So having that, I feel like, positive outlook in life, and I feel like that's what I, get from you. I feel that vibe of, look at the bright side, right? Yeah, like everybody goes through stuff, but when we look at, hey, what good has come out of this situation, right? Even though it was not good, your childhood abuse experience, but the good is that you were through this experience learning about yourself, getting the help needed, become a better father, better husband, right? And so I definitely, say that, having that positive outlook in life. Hope. What do we mean by hope? Yeah. Right? Having that positive expectation.
Correct. And and with you saying that, going through the process of getting there as well, that's not to minimize whatever traumatic experience you went through. Obviously you got to process it, you got to deal with it, you got to get to that point. And once you get to that point, I'm at a point where, like, yes, I went through what I went through. Now, how am I going to deal with it? And like you just said, make a positive outlook out of it, try and help people out of it. Just be the best version of yourself, and don't be a victim forever.
Yes.
Okay? Turn that victimization into victory.
Yes.
And make the most out of it.
Yes, absolutely. What are some, tips that you would like to share with our audience, or advice that you would like to give our audience from your journey?
Tips and advice. First, like I said, lean on the ones that you love and trust. You try to fight this battle alone, you will lose. Lean on the ones you love and trust, whether it's one person or a group of people. Also, I'm an anxiety guy, so I'm always trying to plan everything out, which hurts me a lot, but it also helps me a lot. So if I'm sticking to a schedule or a routine, that helps me out. I'm a routine guy. But at the same time, as I've gotten older and I'm on the Prozac that helps me relax a little bit, it's okay if your routine gets messed up every once in a while. And just communicate with whoever it is you're around the most. Hey, I'm feeling this way. Hey, I'm gonna sit this one out, whether it's a social or going out, because I'm really not feeling it. Or, you're just afraid to go to where you're avoiding people or places that will bring ugly feelings out of you. Don't feel guilty into not attending an event or being around people that'll unfortunately just bring back whatever anxiety or whatever is triggering you. Yes. So lean on the people you love, communicate how you're feeling, have a plan, and don't be afraid to avoid or hurt people's feelings based on avoiding what triggers you.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing those tips. Those are all very helpful. definitely, the point of this channel is to give hope, right? By sharing these inspiring stories. Carlos, thank you so much for being here, and sharing this difficult. It's not easy to share, but thank you for your boldness to be here as a guest and share with us your story and your experience and how you coped, right? And I love the lessons that you shared. If you're going through something similar, you're in a situation, get help. Absolutely get help. Get involved in community. Get a support, have that support system. Surround yourself with, people that love you for who you are. And, you know, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. This, it's a circumstance, right? We go through stuff, mess in life. It's part of life. But how do you rise above that circumstance? That is the point of sharing these stories. Is, hey, we have overcome. Be it therapy, community, friends and family, medication, whatever it may be, but know yourself, live, being mindful, right?
Yep.
When you're mindful, you recognize, hey, something's off. And people, community, family will help you to, like, we can't see some blind spots. Like you were saying, they are able to see the blind spots. They were able to tell you, hey, you need to go get help. And that is the benefit of surrounding ourselves with people that see and say, hey, we need to go get it checked.
Yes.
Get help. And you know what? Everyone's fighting a battle, be it sexual abuse or anything else, like, and giving grace and being kind to yourself, right? I feel like that is, that helps. Being kind to yourself. And thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching this episode. Please comment what is a takeaway that you've gotten from this episode, from the story. Carlos, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you sharing your story and your journey with us. And we wish you the best.
Thank you.
For your future and your son and your family. And thank you, everyone, for watching this. If you've stumbled on this channel, consider subscribing to our channel. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.